and welcome to the 14 Going on 41 podcast. I'm Arvind, the 41 of this chaotic duo, and joining me is my lovely co-host, the Gen Z speaking, world schooling, ocean loving, history buffing, can't do mathin', now podcasting, Kiara, a runner.
I'm Kiara, I'm 14 years old, and today we are back to speak with another guest who followed their calling as they went down the road less traveled.
That's right. And in terms of a cool story, I have a feeling today's episode will definitely deliver.
I have a feeling that we shouldn't bring puns in this early into the episode. It's been 30 seconds, a minute?
It's never too early to start, Kiara. And for everyone else listening, why that makes sense is because our guest today built this massive company in the hyper-local delivery space and really created a brand that each and every one of us knows.
That's right. Our guest, his name is Saurabh Kumar. He co-founded Grofers, which is now known as Blinkit, and which serves millions of customers around India.
It is pretty crazy what they've done. And he's built a unicorn. And when I say unicorn, I'm not talking about Scotland's national animal. I'm talking about a company that's worth over $1 billion. And it's now a household name, and it's redefined how you think about groceries, right? You can actually get anything in 10 minutes or less at your house now. Whereas, back in the day, you'd have to go down to a Kirana store or you'd place an order online, but you'd have a time slot that was 2 or 3 days later. It was pretty crazy. Maybe it's something we can talk about in the good old days segment, Kiara.
Literally can't wait for that segment. Yay, I'm so excited.
Love the enthusiasm and no sarcasm at all. But Saurabh's journey is pretty incredible. And now he's up to something pretty unique after the Grofers phase of his life as well. So I'm hoping we can talk to him about that too.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm genuinely excited about hearing.
Unlike the first part, which you're not genuinely, you're just going to feign the excitement there. I get it. Go on.
I was being sarcastic. Anyway, I can't wait to hear Saurabh's story. You've talked a little bit about it, Arvind, while we were prepping, but I can't wait to hear it from him firsthand. But before we bring him on, it is time.
Mm-hmm. You mean for our Gen Z word of the day? Okay, hit me. What is it today?
Today's word is main quest.
Main quest. Quest is like a protein bar. So main quest sounds like the protein bars of protein bars. 40 grams of protein, 0 grams of regret, 0 grams of sugar, and a bunch of artificial sweeteners they don't tell you about it. Is that it?
No, and only you would go straight into protein bars, Arvind. But it's a huge surprise that that's not what the Gen Z word means. Do you want to have another try?
Sure. Well, the other thing I thought of is Johnny Quest, which is a cartoon I used to watch as a kid. His dad was Dr. Benton Quest, so he may have been the main quest, but doesn't feel like that's a Gen Z reference. So let me try again.
Yes, it's another boomer something good.
Not boomer, okay? Millennial or Gen X or something like that. But okay, main quest. I think I've got this. So if someone's just trying to grow their hair out and trying to get this really cool look, like a lion's mane, and it's these flowing locks. They're trying to go on a main quest so they can get the right hairstyle.
No, so in Gen Z terms, I'm just going to go ahead because you've given it enough tries and they've all been wrong. So in Gen Z terms, the main quest is your core purpose of life. It is your main quest, the big thing that you're chasing. Everything else, side jobs, side hustles, a short adventure, those are all your side quests, which happens to be a phrase I use a lot. But main quest, that's your big why.
Every time you say quest, I keep thinking protein bar. But sorry, I'm getting a bit distracted. But actually, to what you said, I think that's actually pretty deep. Right? Main quest sounds like the reason you exist and your why in life.
Yeah. And that's why today's guest is a perfect match with the Gen Z word of the day. Saurabh started out on the classic quest. He went to IIT Bombay. He got his master's in the US. He had a stable job in New York. And then he had a major plot twist. He ditched all those side quests and then came back to India to chase his main quest, which is building something that actually mattered to him.
That's pretty cool. No, I can't wait to hear it. And as you're saying that, I'm also thinking about how it's possible for main quests to evolve. So will hear about Saurabh's entire Grofers journey, but as I've spoken to him more and more over the last couple of years, it sounds like there's something else on the horizon. And it's interesting to see how it doesn't just have to always be one main quest. Things can evolve. So I'm curious to hear that perspective too.
We'll be back with our guest, Saurabh Kumar. But while we wait, Arvind, I think we don't want to be distracted. His story is going to be amazing. So you should go get a protein bar.
My quest continues.
Today's guest is Saurabh Kumar. He's an engineer turned entrepreneur who co founded Grofers, one of India's earliest and most iconic grocery delivery platforms, now known as Blinkit. And he built that into a unicorn worth billions of dollars with gross order values in the 10,000 crore rupee range. I mean, those are some ridiculous numbers. Now he's plotting his next chapter, reflecting, reimagining, and ready to take on some uncharted waters. Saurabh Kumar, welcome to the 14 Going on 41 podcast.
Thank you for having me here. I look forward to our conversation today.
I'm still used to Kiara and me calling you Saurabh. I don't know if anyone calls you Saurabh because at Grofers, everyone called you SK.
Yeah, I think majority of the people call me SK. I think people in Dubai still call me Saurabh. So I'm used to hearing Saurabh still.
Okay, cool. So Dubai is now the place because in undergrad, no one called you Saurabh either, but we won't get into that nickname on this.
Yeah, we should.
Fair enough. This podcast, as we've told you before, Saurabh, is about those fork in the road moments. You've had a few in your life. We'll talk about the early ones, which is leaving New York and a pretty cool job in transport consultancy, which everyone dreams of as a kid, right? Who doesn't want to work in transport consultancy? Leaving that and deciding to move back to India was a pretty big fork in the road moment. But I think before we get into that, Kiara, you always have one of your favorite questions for our guests.
Yeah. So when you were my age, when you were 14 years old, what did you see your career looking like? What did your dreams look like, your aspirations?
When I was 14 years old, right, I don't really think I was thinking much about career, right? All I cared about was waking up in the morning, going to school, look forward to the recess time, go play volleyball after the school. That pretty much was the thing that I used to look forward to. I think around that time, it used to be a revolving cast of things. At times, I wanted to be a quiz master. I represented my school at Bonvita quiz competition, so it was like, oh, I think this is a cool job. I would like to be a quiz master in future.
Like you wanted to be like Derek O'Brien.
Yeah,
like
Derek O'Brien, and yeah, it seemed like a cool job.
I would totally be the bookworm sidekick if you ever wanted to do that, because I'm not sure I can pull off Quizmaster, but that goofy character who is just like on the sides, random bits of trivia.
Yeah.
Quizmaster.
Not to reinforce the stereotype of a Bihari kid, but at one time I wanted to be a politician. That was something that often used to be a topic of conversation at home, right? We are always talking about, which party is going to win this election, what's happening. And then this would be a cool thing to do. But none of these were really something that I really felt that, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. Growing up in a small town in India, you're more or less told what you need to do. You go to school, and especially coming from growing up in Jamshedpur, that being a Tata-dominated steel town, very engineering-heavy focus, it was kind of unsaid rule that if you are good in academics, you just go to engineering. And that's how I think the career spanned out for me.
You went to this really cool college called IIT Bombay, which had some really notable alumni that came from it. You had some really cool batchmates as well, who we shall not talk about. And then you went from there to the US, right? You were in Austin, doing your masters.
Yeah. I think that was kind of just the continuation of it. Went to IIT Bombay, then wasn't sure that I wanted to do a job, and like a lot of people end up going to US. So I thought, oh, I'll go and do my master's there. Went there, did my master's, debated whether I should continue being in school and do my PhD as well. But by then I was like, okay, I'm done with this this studying part of it. Picked up a job in Austin.
And so, okay, so now transportation engineering. You wound up in New York doing transportation consultancy, and then suddenly one day you were like, this isn't for me. I need to move back to India. Like, how did that decision come about? How did that just happen out of nowhere?
Yeah, I think I worked in Austin for a year and then moved to New York. New York seemed cool. Worked in New York for about a couple of years. I think I was still young. We were partying all the time. Job was cool, paid for the lifestyle. But I woke up one day and it just felt like everything stays the same. What I was a year before versus what I am now had not really changed. And it felt like what's going to change in the next 5, 10 years of my life. I'll keep doing this job. I know what the growth looks like. I know what this lifestyle looks like. It just everything felt so predictable that it became very uncomfortable that I know exactly how all of this is going to pan out. And I was 29 years old and I can see what the next 20, 30 years of my life is going to look like. And there isn't a lot of scope of variability here. It's not going to go in very different dimensions or very different paths. And that was scary. And that kind of got me to the point like, okay, what next? And probably the easiest answer was just let's go back to India.
How did people react when you told them, oh, I'm coming back to India, I'm leaving this stable job in New York? How did people react to that?
Different reactions. I think family definitely thought I'm losing it. Friends were a lot more supportive of it. But it was, even for my colleagues there, it's like, okay, you're going back to India. Do you know what you're going to do there? And I was like, no, I don't. And that was kind of slightly hard to understand for a lot of people. And
yeah.
But for me, it was, I need to change something. And that's why I thought, let's go back to India and see where it takes me.
So literally, like, I'm going to go back to India and figure it out.
Yeah.
And what was it like when you actually moved back to India? How did you feel? You were in the US for a few years. What were the differences?
So a lot of people had told me that moving back to India, you feel a bit of culture shock. But I was in the US for 5 years, right? So when I moved back to India, I actually didn't feel any different. I felt like, oh, I was here 5 years ago. Nothing has changed. Career-wise, while I was coming back, I started interviewing again to figure out what's next. Ended up picking up a consulting job again, which kind of sent me back to New York again for a project. And I was like, okay, this is what I wanted to
exactly
say.
How you planned it. Now I'm actually getting a job in India, getting paid in rupees, but now going back to New York, it feels like.
Yeah. So that didn't last. I quit.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah. I quit within 7 months. By then, I think another thing that also had happened was like two jobs that I did. I don't think I was a very good employee. I pretty much hated most of the people I worked for. And I would always be like, why am I here? I think part of the reason where starting up also came out was like, I hate working in these environments. So why am I here? And why would this be something that's going to give me happiness in the long run? And that's the reason I was like, okay, once I quit the India job, I was like, okay, I need to do something in a much smaller setup where I'm enjoying people that I'm working with and it's more fun, which led me to moving to Bombay. And this couple of guys I knew were building something in the RFID space. So I hopped on board. We worked on it for a couple of years, realized that maybe we are too early in this space and we weren't really making a lot of progress. Then we decided to call it quits.
And this was a startup, or were you employee at this time?
I was an employee.
Okay.
So they brought me to run the business and we ran into a wall. We just couldn't figure out how to get beyond this. And then we said that, okay, let's call it quits here.
I always thought RFIDs could penetrate walls, but never mind.
They never do. Yeah. So that happened. And then I was then debating what's next. And I knew a lot more people in Gurgaon than Bombay. So I decided that I'll move back to Gurgaon and then figure it out.
Has the startup bug come over you at this point, though?
Yes, but by now I was very clear that I want to build something of my own. All the previous experiences kind of got me to the point that I don't necessarily like working for people. So I would want to do something of my own. That part was cemented. What I had no clue about was, what do I do? What do I really build?
But sorry, just to go back there, is it, I don't want to work for anyone and so I want to be my own boss? Was the big driver versus, oh, there's a massive opportunity here. India's growing. I can see something.
Yeah, but I think that was the primary motivator, that I just don't want to work for anyone. I want to be my own boss, and I'll figure out where the opportunity lies.
How did the idea of Grofers come about?
So when I moved to Gurgaon, I was sharing a flat with 3 other flatmates.
I think I know some of them, so I know it wasn't an easy time.
Yeah, and that apartment was kind of a guest house for anyone from IIT who was in town would be there. One of the problems that we used to always run into, and we would argue all the time, who's going to go buy groceries, who's going to order food today. And that kind of, while I was trying to figure out what do I do, kind of clicked that why don't I build something around a concierge service that does all these chores for you? Brings your groceries, goes to the restaurant, brings your food. You want to order something from any of the stores, there's a guy you can call and he comes and brings everything to you.
Concierge service sounds like a very fancy way of saying, you need a gopher, essentially.
Yeah, you need a gopher. I think somewhere the origin of the Grofers name also comes from here. We were trying to digitize the gopher. And so we started, I jumped right into it that, okay, what do I need to do? Build this. Went out, collected menus of 100 odd restaurants, went to a couple of grocery stores, took the dump of their inventory and just put it online with a phone number there and said, call this number and we will deliver anything.
And that was your phone number?
Yes, it was my phone number in the beginning, and I was the only delivery boy. So I was, somebody calls me, I'll go deliver. And while I'm along the way, someone else calls in, I'll take the order and then go and deliver the other order. I think the first day I got 3 or 4 orders because I put a pamphlet in the newspaper in the morning. And I thought, okay, there might be something here. And I called it one number at that time with the idea that, oh, this is one number you call for everything. And then went on and hired 3 more delivery executives and started doing a little bit of marketing. We saw a little bit of growth. We got to about 15, 20 orders a day. We got stuck there. I think we couldn't grow beyond that. And I didn't.
And sorry, and just to put that in context, 15, 20 orders a day. Today, it's like 1 million orders a week or something like that. Is that right?
Oh, we do 1 million orders a day.
Oh, wow. I'm just picturing you zooming around in a bike, trying to deliver 1 million orders a day. And it feels like a meme that's waiting to happen.
In fact, funny story. One of the mornings I was going to drop pamphlets to the newspaper stall.
These are all new words for Kiara. So newspapers we've talked about in another episode. Pamphlets were like these flyers that you put inside the newspaper. So when you read it, it was like an ad. It's like an Instagram ad that shows up, but in a newspaper.
Yeah, I'm going to do this. And I ran into an accident. So I fell from my bike, broke my collarbone, and realized that, okay, now I can't do deliveries. So that was the harder thing. So it kind of killed a little bit of momentum for me because I couldn't go out and go and talk to these stores, couldn't do much marketing either. So it took me about a month and a half to recover where I could again ride a bike.
But at that point, did you know that was your calling? Because you've broken your collarbone and instead of, oh, how do I get this fixed and how do I get better? The first thing you said is, oh, I can't do deliveries.
Yeah, because I think what the excitement of getting an order and doing delivery was not a thing that I had experienced before. So I knew that I wanted to do something in this space. Around this period, I also talking to Albi, who is my co-founder at Grofers. he was at Zomato at that time and was like, why don't we build this together? So he comes on board as well. And we are debating, what do we do with this? We are not really growing. We don't have a lot of money to do marketing either. And then we were chatting one day, trying to figure out what should we do, and came up with the idea that we already have the delivery guys. They're sitting here. Why don't we make some money out of them? So we thought we will go to the same guys who we are picking orders from and tell them that we can do deliveries for you, because these stores are getting orders on phone all the time. So we printed a pamphlet saying that, hey, buy 60 orders from deliveries from us, pay us 2,000 rupees and we'll do 60 deliveries for you, or pay us 5,000 rupees and we'll do unlimited deliveries for you for a month.
Feels like pamphlets are a huge part of your marketing strategy in the early days.
Because we didn't know anything else. That was the easiest thing to do. It's like, oh, I have a printer next to me. I'll print something, go and stick it somewhere. Somebody will see it. The first store that we went to was a chemist. And he said, yeah, I'll buy this. I have deliveries all the time. And I have one guy who does deliveries. So when he's not here, somebody calls us, we can't deliver. So if you are doing it for 2,000 rupees, it's super cheap for me. So I will take it. And we saw, oh, there might be something here. The first guy we have talked to has already agreed to this. We got out of that store, and within half an hour, he calls me and says that, hey, I have 4 deliveries to be done. Like, okay.
Wow.
So we send our delivery guys to there. 2 days later, he has run out of the 60 deliveries that he had bought. And he said that, oh, I want to buy this unlimited delivery for 5,000. Like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And he said, I also have 4 or 5 of my friends who want to do this. So why don't you go and talk to them and do deliveries for them as well? I'm like, okay, there seems to be something here. Within a month, we were doing 200, 300 orders a day. Then it became that I'm doing deliveries all the time. I can't even do any of the marketing or sales because we didn't have delivery guys to do deliveries. At the same time, we also rebranded to Grofers. We were like, okay, we are effectively Gopher, and what's the cool sounding name around it, where we can get the domain. So we got grofers.com and was like, okay, this is who we are.
By the way, is that the hardest part about starting a business, finding a name for which you can find the domain?
It is a very hard thing to do. It is a hard thing to do because you don't want to pay for the domain.
Yeah.
And you want a cool sounding name, which people can pronounce easily. So,
fair enough. So you've got the domain, you're printing pamphlets, you're out doing deliveries.
We are doing deliveries, and the word of mouth really caught up, and we were growing quickly. We went from, like, within the first month, we had 20 more delivery guys. And we are, like, from 8 in the morning to midnight, we are doing deliveries all the time. I would literally get to the store at 8, open the shutters, the orders start coming in. So I'm on the bike throughout the day, taking orders, doing deliveries. And within, I think, 4 to 5 months, we were close to doing about 1,000 orders a day in Gurgaon alone. And then it was, where do we think this is going to go? And one of the bigger problems for us was, I'm here and Albi is here, so this works. How does something this intense in terms of operation really work remotely? Was not something that we knew.
And at this point, have you raised capital? Have you gone into the venture world at all?
No, it was still my and Albi's money. We hadn't raised any capital till this point.
Wow.
So before we raised capital, we thought we should also demonstrate that we can run this remotely as well. And this can be a tech business rather than just a logistics business. So I go to Bombay to set this up in Bombay as well. Spent a couple of months setting the business there while also managing the operations in Gurgaon. And this is when Sequoia Capital comes in and says that we are interested in space and we would like to invest in your company. So,
and they reached out to you. So you're not even looking at this point.
Yeah, we weren't looking. They reached out. This is August 2014. And they took their own sweet time in giving us the money. And we had pretty much run out of money and people to ask money from. But their
Called
money,
due diligence, I think.
yeah, the due diligence and this, they took their time, and the money showed up in October.
That's a pretty fast fundraise. To be fair, August to October is not as bad as other stories I've heard. But
Yeah, but we had no business. So like, hey, we guys go and do deliveries. What due diligence are you gonna do? These are the delivery guys sitting in front of you.
they're
This is
probably
the
like looking at your pamphlet and saying, any typos here? What route are you taking from here to here? Is it the shortest route possible? So it's diligence.
Yeah, well, that was we were bleeding money, so it was like, oh, we need the money now. But when the money came in, and by now we also were getting the fatigue of dealing with these merchants, because these are local kirana walas and chemists. Every month end, there would be a week that used to just go in fighting for cash reconciliation, pay us the money, and it used to be like 90% of the merchants would just not want to pay us. It's like, oh, instead of paying 10,000, can we pay 8,000? Can we pay 7,000? It always used to be that negotiation that used to happen. And the moment Sequoia money came in, I was like, okay, we don't necessarily need to do this. Can we go directly to the customer, which is how we initially started, right? And can we take orders from customers and deliver rather than delivering for these merchants? And the first thing we did with the money that we got was went to Punjab Engineering College and hired 10 freshy engineers. And like, okay, let's build an app. And we had to pick a category at that time. And we were debating between grocery and pharmacy, because those were the two biggest deliveries that we used to see. And pharmacy being a lot more regulated, we thought, let's do groceries. And groceries also went with the Grofers name better.
Yeah.
So we picked
what farmers. What would it be if you went the pharmacy route?
Oh well, I think we would have still
farmers.
We would have still kept Grofers and then figured out what the name should be.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I spent 2 months building the app, released the app end of December, and it took off. I think we again did, this time we, instead of pamphlets, we did a full newspaper ad because we also had money in the bank account. So we did that. We got about 300, 400 orders. So during this journey, we also went from being an organization that was doing 3,000 to 4,000 orders a day between Delhi and Bombay to going back again to, okay, we are now a consumer facing company. So we are doing like 200, 300 orders a day, right?
But all direct from consumers, not from merchants. So
yeah. And to keep things moving, we still kept the delivery arm going as well. But the kind of response we got for the app sounds like, okay, there is definitely something here. We are onto something. And this is the time when Tiger Capital also came in and said that, hey, this space looks exciting to us.
Back then, every space looked exciting to them, though.
Exactly.
But,
exactly. And the way it used to work then, as Lee Fixel does a call and they says, hey, we are going to invest in this space.
That's great.
So we raise our next round within 3 months of the first round. So we have another 10 million in the bank account. And then I'm like, okay, we definitely have something now. So
how did that feel, though? You're going from like 5,000, 10,000 rupees with a merchant that you're fighting for to reconcile cash to, oh, now we've got $10 million in the bank account. Like that mindset to also be able to now deal with this scale and run a business like this, I think is not the most straightforward.
Yeah, but it feels overwhelming in the hindsight. When we were actually doing this, it's like, oh, okay, now this is happening. So what do we need to do next? You are more worried about the next step than anything else. We really didn't have a lot of time to think about, okay, what do we need to do now? Versus it used to be, hey, we were doing 300 orders. We now are 1,000 orders. We don't have delivery guys. We don't have the tech. We don't have people. So trying to scale up was it used to take all of our energy and all of our time to really not have a lot of time thinking about, hey, what are we doing here? I think 2015 for us was a great year, but at the same time was something that kind of it fueled our growth, but it also fueled a lot of bad habits for us. Because from in October 2014 we got our seed round, and by November 2015 we had raised 3 more rounds, and we had $150 million in our bank.
It felt like easy money, and so now just
Easy money, but at the same time, the more money we had, the more pressure we felt that, hey, we need to also continue to grow. So the growth became something that was super important. We felt way more responsible for growth than trying to figure out the business itself. So we kept running after growth. We suddenly, by end of 2015, we have 500 people in office. We have thousands of delivery guys, and we are building this business where we are learning on as we go, and we still don't necessarily understand the full economics of how this business is going to evolve. What we definitely knew was, or at least believe, that there's a business to be built here, and the size of this business, of what this can be, is humongous, right? In the Indian space, this is massive opportunity. Along the journey, we did get to the point where, hey, we are growing, but we can't figure out our cash burn situation. We aren't really getting better as a business. So we need to answer for that as well. That got to a point where we had to take a step back and say, okay, we need to figure out the unit economics here, because we can't keep burning this money. And one of the things in our space was also that everyone had memories of Web1, right? And the 1999 crash. So everyone thought grocery was not really the tech business that everyone thinks it can be. It's the hardest problem to solve. So 2017 and 2018, we stepped back, redid our entire business model. We went from doing instant deliveries to, hey, we will do next day deliveries. We will focus on value, because we were able to see that if we were doing slower deliveries and focusing on value, the economics was working better and our customer retention was going through the roof, because people kept coming back for value. People who used to come back for convenience were a lot more fickle. One bad experience and they'll go away. But the people who saw value will keep coming back. So our marketing spends went down. Our unit economics looked much better. And we again degrew because we changed our business model. So we went from doing 50,000 orders a day back to doing 10,000 orders a day again.
But with a stable, recurring cohort that see value in it.
Yeah. And our investors were okay with us taking this time to try to figure it out. As the Indian market also cooled down. So they were like, okay, yeah, take your time, figure it out. But let's not keep burning money. But we need to figure this business out because the opportunity is massive here. So we took 2 years. By early 2019, we were growing again. Our cohorts looked good and our losses were way lower. And we could see the unit economics working out for us. So we grew 2019 and then COVID hit. And everything changed after that.
Some pandemic or something like that happened around that time.
Yeah.
I don't quite recall. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I think by 2019, I think we knew that we have a business here. And beyond just fundraising, we have a business here which we can build. And we were fairly comfortable that, okay, we will build something in this space. And once COVID hit, everything changed.
Sorry to interrupt, but like, just what was that COVID experience like? Because I'm sure that is, I mean, it's changed everything the world over. But for you guys in particular, I mean, how are you going to deliver stuff contactlessly or if at all, right?
Yeah, we were getting orders left, right, and center, right? Like, so because we were a planned delivery platform, we used to take orders up till 7 days. And we would fill out all our slots within 1 hour of opening the app. So basically, we had more demand than we can serve. And none of the delivery guys want to show up because everyone is afraid. Right? We didn't have staff to man the warehouses. We didn't have delivery guys, and the demand's gone through the roof. So the initial 1 month was a massive struggle trying to balance both sides of it.
And just to be clear, the reason they're afraid is because of COVID, right? Not because of your management style as a boss or anything like that.
Such a nice boss. So, yeah, people were afraid. Everyone was afraid. I was afraid. Like, there's so much uncertainty. We didn't know what to do. But I think the first week, we were still forced to go and meet a lot of government officials trying to figure out, okay, how can we continue doing deliveries? Because this was deemed an essential item. So we still had to operate. Figured it out, smoothened out, hired a lot of people, try to see how much we can still deliver. First couple of months was a lot of customer love for us being able to still deliver. But at the same time, a lot of angst that, hey, you can't deliver. You aren't taking my order either. And this was also a time when we were by ourselves, right? So we had a lot of time that when we were in office, we didn't used to have. And we were contemplating that we have all of this order and we can't deliver it. And one of the biggest problem with our business model was that it cannot scale overnight. Because building every single warehouse used to take 3 to 4 months. So if you have to increase capacity, you have to wait 3 to 4 months before you can say go from 100,000 to 200,000 orders. And you are seeing that you have 10x orders overnight. And that kind of also fueled our desire to again relook at who we were when we started out and what we were trying to solve. And we were trying to solve for convenience. And what has by now also changed in India was deliveries and ordering things online was way more acceptable in 2020 than it was in 2015.
I'm guessing the expectation of customers are also more evolved, right? So suddenly it's like, how can I get this quicker, faster now, right? So
quicker, faster now. And the biggest, I think, change that had happened was the willingness to pay has also gone up in India by this time. So if you are providing me a service that I can't otherwise get, people were willing to pay for it. And that kind of got us to think that maybe we need to relook at if we need to be more of a convenience player than a value-driven player. So we started experimenting with it. We started setting up newer dark stores which can do deliveries in 30 minutes. Then went to, okay, can we make it faster? Can we do 10-minute deliveries? We started experimenting with these things. And we saw that the customer cohorts on these areas was much better than our regular cohorts because people were now craving for, okay, can I get it faster? This is more of a convenience. And the distrust and price expectations were way more managed now in the online space than it was before. So yeah, that kind of gotten us to rethink what we were doing for last 7 years.
It brings me back. I always think of this, and Kiara, this is a old principle. I think it's called the iron triangle, that you can only get 2 out of 3 right. It's like cost, quality, and speed. And you have to kind of pick 2 of those 3 vectors. And as you think about the pivot from how you thought about value play to then the convenience play, boils down to that good old principle. But clearly you got something right, because now Grofers, Blinkit is all over the country. You're getting orders in less than 10 minutes. It's incredibly useful. Every time I'm back in India, I'm just blown away by how nothing in the world seems to compare to that, right? I'm in Singapore and you have maybe next day delivery. Like here I'm ordering something and you're ordering something for 4 or 5 days out. But I mean, you just go in India and 10 minutes out, you get literally anything. It's ridiculous how amazing and efficient it is.
Yeah, I think the India and China markets are way more evolved in this space than anywhere else. None of the Western worlds you can expect things to be delivered in 10 minutes.
All the guests who come to my house are amazed. We use Blinkit a lot, actually. My parents are ordering from Blinkit all the time. And, guests who are coming to our house, we need something for breakfast to make for them. And we get it so fast and they're very amazed by it. And it's a space you've created. And you made this like massive space. And I was wondering how hard or how easy it was to then like step away from it.
It was super hard. I think it was emotionally very, very hard decision because this was my life for 8 years, right? I was in office every day, 8 to 10. That's the only life I knew.
It was something you'd done for 8 years, but it was a calling. It was your main quest. So I feel like it's just more than just a job, and the fact that it is your entire identity at some level, right?
Yeah, it was my identity. It was all I knew at that point of time, right? Like there was nothing else. But I also got to the point where it felt like it's the right thing to do for the business.
Hmm.
We were still trying to do a fundraise, and fundraise wasn't as easy. And we were debating between continuing to do our fundraise versus Zomato at that time wanted to do groceries and were struggling to do it on their own. And we knew those guys very well. So they came on board and said that, hey, why don't you take money from us? And so that you won't have to then worry about fundraising every 6 months or a year. They had recently gone public, so they had a lot of cash. And in their worldview, once you raise institutional capital, it's much easier to just focus on building the business rather than worrying about the fundraise and creating a new story every time, right? And it just felt like the right thing to do, that if we raised capital from Zomato, we still have, we can do what we want to do. We wanted to completely move to quick commerce at that point of time. And Zomato believed in that as well, and were willing to say that we will take our time to build this. We don't have to answer to anybody.
I'm sure the business decisions would have made a lot of sense. And I'm sure there's a compelling rationale.
Yeah.
How is Saurabh, the person, feeling about this? And how are you coming to terms with what's next?
I think once I was able to rationally tell to myself whatever my ego was saying versus, okay, this is the right thing to do for business. If we really believe that there is something to be built here, then this is the path we should take. Once I got that in my head that, okay, we should do this and we are doing this, then came the next question as to, okay, what is the role I'm going to play in this now? And at Grofers, between Albi and I, Albi used to do most of the fundraising and tech, and I used to run the business. And once we took the fundraising part out of it, that, hey, we don't necessarily need to worry about funds anymore. It was also the question of, do we really need both of us to be here and building this? I realized that maybe I should take a step back and see what I want to do in life. I again had no clue what lied ahead.
I have to jump in to just commend you on just the fact that, do I want to do this? I think when you're in that mission mode, sometimes you don't even step back to ask that question, or you almost take it as a given that this is all I'm supposed to do. And and that's not the right answer for anyone, both for the business and this, especially when you're actually thinking about it. And I've seen many people who sometimes just think about it and just feel like, whether it's duty, whether it's identity, whether it's something else, just stick with something, but their heart's not in it. And don't necessarily take that moment to introspect, especially because it means your purpose in life is changing, your priorities are changing, which is scary. So what you did is amazing.
I think it was scary, but I definitely think that it was going to work, because if I'm doubting it, as you said, right, like it rarely works once you have that doubt in your head. Every time you run into a wall, you will question it. Why am I even here? What am I doing? I think the hard part after that was saying goodbye to people, because it's the only life I knew. And it's for a lot of people, right? I was one of the constants. Whatever happened, the business is going up or down, I'm there, right? So just going through that emotional roller coaster that, okay, I'm doing this. It was hard. Took a couple of months for me to really get out of that funk that I was in. Okay, this chapter is ending. I was pretty scared what lied ahead. And I, somewhere along that time, I told myself that I need to step away for at least 6 months to a year to really figure out what's next. It was a massive unknown. I went away for a month, did a road trip around India. And then a month later, I can't do this. I just can't do this. Have waking up and have nothing to do was just so uncomfortable. So a month later, I had driven all the way from Gurgaon to Bangalore. And one day I woke up in Bangalore and I was like, okay, put my car on a truck, took a flight back to Gurgaon. And I was like, okay, I need to do something. I can't be just sitting idle and have no clue what I'm doing. I started trying to build a business again, but very quickly realized that I'm doing this just to keep myself busy. This
Mm.
is not really what I want to do in life. I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. And it was much easier for me to recognize those at this point than it would have been before. So did that for 6 months, shut it down, and went into the same state again that, okay, what's next? I need to figure out. But I think by now I had also gotten to the point where I really thought that as uncomfortable as it is, I still need to step away and rethink what the second chapter of my life needs to be.
Mm. And that's where the second chapter has now been going on for a couple of years. There's been some travel, there's been some golf, and there's a new adventure which we've talked about a little bit that's come up over the last few months.
Yeah, I think the second chapter, the first thing I did was after I got out was like, I need to get out of Gurgaon because everyone I knew spoke the same language.
Haryanvi? Sorry, you set me up for that. I couldn't resist.
The business side of Haryanvi. Yeah, I think it becomes an echo chamber at that point, right? Like everyone's talking about business, everyone's talking about what next to build. And you have that trigger at all times that, okay, what am I doing? Why am I not solving this problem? Why am I not building this business? And I needed to get away from that. So I packed up my bag, moved to Dubai, and nobody knew me in Dubai. I didn't know anyone either. So it then became what's next and how do I make friends here? How do I try to live in a different place? And I had also
I love how easy it was. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. But I love how easy it is. Like, I just packed my bags. I moved to Dubai. Like, someone going to buy groceries. It's like, yeah, no worries. I just moved to another country. Yeah, no big deal.
I started going to the grocery shop again. So that was a big change. It was refreshing. I had started thinking about trying to live in a different place and moving to a different city felt like a challenge that, okay, I need to make friends here. I still need to find meaningful things to do that keeps me happy. One thing that I liked about Dubai was, so once I started meeting people, I play golf. So I joined a golf club here. I run. So I met people while running. And the good thing here was everyone knew me for, oh, he's a golfer, or he's a runner. And I had picked up, when I moved here, I was also looking for what else to do with my time and picked up sailing. It was very refreshing that, okay, who you are, you have to tell that story very differently now. In India, you're telling you who you are is, oh, I'm building this business. Here, no, you are not that person because nobody really knows you that way. So you have to tell your story very differently. And then it felt like my life's been super one dimensional. I have built a business. This is who I am. If I have to describe who I am as a person, I don't have a lot outside of what I have built as a business. And that was slightly discomforting.
That's really interesting. Although I will say, from the times we've hung out, I think there's a lot more to you than that, at least from conversations we've had. But it's interesting as you're going through this crisis of figuring out those different dimensions in life for yourself. The
primary change for me happened when I realized that I definitely need to grow as a person in more ways than being someone who can solve problems and build a business. And this journey around 2022, 23, once I was further away from Gurgaon and business, I got a lot more comfortable in not looking at myself from the external validation lens. Is that it always used to be, hey, what are you doing? And if you're not doing anything, then are you really being useful? Who are you as a person? And it used to be a little uncomfortable in the beginning, but the more time I spent away from it, I just became way more comfortable in my skin that, hey, I don't need to prove anything to anyone here, really. I can do things that I want to do, and that will fundamentally make me happy. And once I had that financial freedom, I just need to be happy in doing what I am doing. And if I can look back and say that, hey, I'm doing the right thing, I don't necessarily need to worry about what people think that I'm doing. And in the culture that we grow up in India, right, and then the developing country that you grow in, and it just feels like we are super comfortable with linear growth, because linear growth is something everyone understands that, hey, you were doing this, now you are doing this, which is growth. The moment it's not linear, we struggle to explain it. We struggle to explain it to anyone, right? And that comfort, I think once I got that comfort, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do, but I don't necessarily need to look at one dimension or another. I want to do things that would make me happy. And that's how I've gotten from one hobby to another and trying to do different things.
And I interrupted you when you're talking about the latest one, which was sailing. So,
yes, I think sailing happened when right after I moved to Dubai. I was looking for more things to do, and someone suggested that why don't you pick up sailing? So there is this sailing club here. I looked it up, signed up for a dinghy class, and then called them up saying that, hey, I've signed up for this dinghy lesson, but I don't know how to swim. So how is this going to work? And the first thing they said, I was like, don't worry about it. We give you a flotation jacket. And if you really fall in rough waters, your swimming ain't going to save you. So I'm like, okay. Took me about a year to get from not knowing anything about sailing to get my day skipper license that allows me to sail anywhere now. So that happened. That curiosity around trying to see what this life looks like now has gotten me to the point where I ended up getting a boat and selling it from France to Turkey this summer.
Wow.
And it a completely new experience, but very fulfilling experience.
Can you swim now?
Still can't swim.
Strong incentive to stay on the boat then.
I know. That's how you will not get in trouble.
That sailing adventure from France to Turkey has you plotting your next big sailing journey, right?
Yes. I think I really enjoyed the sailing trip that I did, especially the just navigating waters on your own and not knowing what the next day is going to look like. Enough unknowns to keep things exciting. While I was sailing, I was wondering what does this, once I get the boat to Dubai, what do I do with it? And now I think once the boat's here and once I can figure out how to figure out the logistics of it, but I would like to now sail around the world.
Amazing.
That sounds so cool.
We will break now, but once we're back, we're going to have a fun little segment, right, Kiara?
It's called the 14 going on 41 what if segment. So we're back and it's time for the what if segment. So Saurabh, to explain it to you, that's basically we're going to be asking you all what if questions, going back to the fork in the road moments, seeing if anything had changed and just asking you where you think your life would be.
I'm happy to start us off. So my first question to you, Saurabh, is the famous fork in the road moment. What if you'd stayed in New York instead of returning to India? Where do you think you'd be now?
It's a scary thought. I think if I had stayed back in New York, I think sooner or later I would have still gotten to the point where I would have said that I need to do something different. It might have been more delayed. It might have come at a point where I would have taken a very different path, maybe stayed in US and built something there. I think for me, that was the biggest fork in the road moment, right? Because that kind of completely changed who I am as a person, right?
You never know where the road less traveled might take you.
Yeah.
My what if question is, what if you could travel back to when you were 14 years old? What advice would you give to your 14-year-old self?
Don't take life too seriously. I think when I was growing up, it was all you need to study, get good grades, keep on a certain path, because unless you get good marks in class 10, you don't get a good college, you don't do well in these JEE exams, you don't get to good college, you don't know what happens. There was a lot of just trying to stay on one path. I would just say that as a kid, just explore different things. I think the part that I said about being one dimensional, I think it's a lot more in at least when we were growing up, that was who we were. I think I would want to change that if I could.
Kiara, it sounds like you're already living Saurabh's advice.
Yeah, I think Kiara is seeing the best of what a 14-year-old's life can be.
Well, she hosts this podcast with me, so it's not all plain sailing.
Well, I actually really enjoy hosting the podcast with you, Arvind, other than your puns.
Whoa! We've got that on record and camera. I'm gonna like frame this and like listen to it every day. My next one for you, Saurabh, is what if Grofers didn't have the level of success that it did? What if you hadn't become a unicorn? What if you hadn't gotten to millions of orders a day, etc.? How would you feel differently about the risk you took to start up in the first place?
I don't think I would feel any differently about the risk because I think the reasons I took the risk was fairly clear to me. And I think I'll probably be just poorer, but still wiser. I think if Grofers hadn't worked out, I think the next step for me would still be building something of my own. I don't think how I go from once starting on that path to saying that, hey, I need to go back to work again. If the success hadn't come in, I would still be grinding out somewhere.
So you seem to be very drawn to an entrepreneurship lifestyle. So what if you could switch lives with any entrepreneur in the world and, how they built their business? Who would it be and why?
I think Phil Knight's story is something that really resonates with me. The way he went about building it, the amount of uncertainty, the amount of not knowing where all of this is going to evolve. Once you build a brand that's going to outlive you, the satisfaction that you get out of it is just something that I would like. If I can live his life, I would happily live his life.
I mean, he just did it. So
yeah, he just did it.
My question to you, Saurabh, now, you talked a little bit about where you are in this stage of life and also having the financial freedom and therefore being able to explore a few other things. What if you hadn't built Grofers? What if you just worked some corporate job and you suddenly found a boss who you could actually put up with? And then you built a great corporate career and let's say you got into private equity, hedge funds, you had the financial success. So you still were left with the financial freedom that you have today or close enough to it. Do you think you'd still be able to go ahead with this choice of, okay, now I'm going to pursue other interests? Or do you think there'd still be a bit of a void of, I've not achieved something of building your own business?
I think so, because somewhere the whole comfort that you get from the fact that, hey, you have built something, the confidence that you get out of it, and the thing that I was talking earlier about, that it helps shield away the external validation lens now. Because you feel like, hey, I've done something that's cool enough for me. I don't feel that I need to prove anything to anyone. I'm not sure if getting to the same financial freedom while not realizing some purpose in life that gives you that comfort would have gotten me to the point where I can do whatever I want to do, right? And I think that only comes from the fact that, hey, I feel that I have done something that I can look back and feel like it was a cool thing to do. And that has now given me the freedom to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's a massive tick on your achievement box when you've actually built what you have. But I can see exactly what you mean, like to build something of your own or, to step out, follow your own path and then have that success. I think you're right. Gives you such a level of validation that it's easier to take unconventional paths or risks later once you've had that.
Yeah.
My next what if question is, what if you had discovered sailing or golf earlier in life? Would it have impacted any of your choices?
I don't really think they would have. I think these are things that I like to do. But if there is another thing that I really enjoy and want to do, I don't think they will come in the way. They are things that make me happy, but they are not the things that is my whole life. I still need to continue to do things that I love. So tomorrow, let's say sailing or some other things, like take sailing, for example. If I'm sailing for next 1 year, sailing around the world, I'm probably not playing any golf. And I'm totally comfortable with that idea, right? So I think...
What if you had these like biodegradable golf balls and you're just on the deck and you're just like teeing off?
I've been researching them, so they might show up on the boat.
What if you were a 14-year-old in today's day and age with everything that's changed with the world? How do you think you'd be thinking of careers?
I think I would try to live your life. I think I'm super jealous of the cool life that you are able to live. I think do think that the kind of exposure that kids can have today allows you to do just so many different things. The kind of paths you can choose for yourself is immense now. Being able to just learn on your own, follow your passions, pick up projects that you like to do, that would be fun.
That's a great validation you just had, Kiara, from all the criticism you get from your co-host and everyone else. So that is much appreciated, Saurabh.
Thank you to both of you. Just now, you mentioned fun, which is a great segue into the next game we're playing.
That's right. This is something you'll appreciate because you've talked about it. And actually, we've probably talked about this at some point in life, but it's our happiness rating game, right? And it is
Yeah.
essentially, we're going to list out a bunch of parameters, right? And you're going to rate how important they are for your happiness on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 means it's not that important. 5 means it's super important. Try not to have everything at a 5 and try not to have everything at a 1, but we'll see. We'll alternate between the different ones. So I'll start with the first. How important to you is wealth?
3, it's important. It's the lifestyle it pays for the freedom to do whatever I want to do. But beyond that, it really doesn't matter. Like once you get to a certain level, it's not making any difference to my tomorrow.
Saurabh, the next one is fame.
Fame. Maybe 2. I don't think fame makes any difference. I think majority of my happiness is drawn from the circle of people that I interact with. And fame doesn't really fit into that, right? You interact with people that you know at a deeper level, and that's who you live your life with.
I think you've answered the next factor, which I'm going to jump into, which is friendship or connections.
It's 5. I think that's who you make your memories with, right? That's what you are going to remember. So I think that's the most important thing.
The next one is impact on people or like scale.
I'd say 4 or 5 still. I think a lot of my satisfaction is drawn from the fact that I have done something at certain scale and that has influence on so many people. So it's for my own selfish reasons, like the confidence it gives is the reason why I would say it's super important.
How about health?
Very important again, 5. I think just being in good health just changes your everyday outlook so much. I think one of the things that I spend a lot more time now is worrying about my health because it just makes my everyday so much nicer.
The next one is fun.
Fun. We need fun in life. Fun's 5. I think that's the key aspect of why you are doing anything, right? If it's not fun, the question again goes back again, why are you even doing it?
Fair enough. And I guess the last one, which ties a little back to impact, but maybe slightly different. You may have talked about it when you talked about Phil Knight, but how about legacy?
Don't really care as much about legacy, to be honest. I think for me, what is more important is when I look back at my life, does it make me content? Does it make me happy that, hey, I lived this life and this was worth living? That to me is important. The same thing when seen through someone else's lens, which I'm assuming what legacy is, it's not necessarily important to me because that's not like, it doesn't change how I'm being judged as long as I can look back at my life and feel like, oh, this was a life worth living and I enjoyed living it.
So fun with friends while you're in good health, while making a bit of an impact. And it's nice to have a bit of money along the way, but beyond a point that doesn't matter too much. And who cares if people know you or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as long as you have good friends, good health, and you are enjoying your life, that's the most important thing.
I really enjoyed this podcast. I was amazed by your story, Saurabh. And I think it's been very inspirational for me to hear everything that you've done, the way you've lived your life to the fullest. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
And it's almost time for us to go with our takeaways, Kiara. But before that, how about our little time machine moment?
Yes, this is the segment where you tell me about all the things that happened in truly, truly ancient times.
It's time for the good old days. In the good old days. So, given we were talking about online delivery in today's episode, it got me thinking a little bit about restaurant delivery. Do you know how we used to order food from a restaurant back in the day, Kiara?
Wait, you could order food? Like, I thought that was more of a modern concept. I mean, I saw some ordering in Friends, but like, isn't your time a bit older than that?
It's probably around the same time. And it's not like we had sticks and stones and we had to light our own fire. There were restaurants, but there wasn't the internet. There wasn't Google Maps. There weren't various apps on which you could order food. So you would have to call the restaurant and speak to an actual human being at the other end.
Call with your voice.
Yes, that's right. I know that's a shocking concept for your generation. And it is absolutely mortifying to speak to another person at the other end of the phone. I've learned this from my nieces who were traveling somewhere and their mom wanted to ask someone for directions. They're like, no, don't ask someone. Just look up on your phone. Because you don't talk to other people. We actually had to pick up the phone, call someone, and then you'd hear this sound of frying oil, chaos in the kitchen, people talking, a ceiling fan. And amidst all this noise, you had to get your order across, hope the person at the other end understood it. And then very slowly, you would tell them your address. And because there's no Google Maps, you'd have to tell them landmarks, which is, oh, at this building, take the second right and then the third left and then come here. And then you just wait and hope they showed up. There was something nice about getting the order and hoping the right person showed up, and then you would get your food. It was kind of like a trust fall, but the reward at the end of it was chaat. It wasn't too bad.
Well, we were talking about deliveries. I think it's time to go into takeaway and not the food. Our takeaways from this episode.
Well done.
So,
let's chat about that.
So,
what was your takeaway, Kiara?
My takeaway was Saurabh talked about how he knew what was happening next. And that's why he left the US. And just because he knew what was happening, he didn't like that feeling. Most people, when they know what's happening, they feel comfortable. And when things are unpredictable, things tend to feel a little worse. But for Saurabh, that's the opposite. He wants to be surprised and enjoy things in life. He loved, actually going out, and in the early days of Blinkit, he really enjoyed that process itself. The fact that he actually chased the unpredictability and wanted to go with the flow, go with the road less traveled, that really stood out to me.
No, that I think is a good one. And what stood out to me is the fact that your main quest can change. Covered it right at the top of the episode, but Saurabh was really driven by this mission of building Grofers, Blinkit, and he was doing that for a decade. And to walk away from that and now realize that actually there might be something else that's on the horizon. And he dabbled with a few other ideas for a bit, but he's embraced a lot of travel. He's now looking at sailing around the world. And the fact that things can evolve and your main quest itself can change, and that one thing alone doesn't define you. There are multiple chapters in your life, and even something that seems like the biggest thing in your life can then end and you move to something else, and there's nothing wrong with that. So just the evolution of one's main quest is what stood out to me.
That is also an amazing takeaway. But unfortunately, that's all for today's episode. So drive safe on the road less traveled, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, party people.